You are listening to the Common Ground podcast, where social justice topics are discussed so that mutual solutions can be considered. This program was created by me, Ziggy Kozicki. You can join these conversations by following Common Ground podcast on Facebook. This program was created through the facilities of the MCTV network, a service of the City of Midland. Charter, DirecTV, MCTV, and the City of Midland are not responsible for the content of this program. The views presented do not necessarily represent those of Charter, DirecTV, the City, or MCTV. If you would like to learn about creating community podcasts like this one, contact MCTV at 989-837-3474. Thank you. Okay. Well, welcome to us, Common Ground, or U.S. Common Ground podcast that we are sharing with you, coming from the studios of MCTV. Mm-hmm. I have the privilege of talking to people about many things. Today I'm going to talk with a good friend of mine, Rico Barassi, who is going to help us to understand a little bit more about immigration and refugee rights, but also about education and a few other topics. And Rico has been an educator for about 35 years, been a soccer coach, and has exemplified what a successful immigrant can bring to a country like the United States. So, Rico, you want to share a little bit about your experience becoming an American citizen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I came in the early 80s as an exchange student. Then I came back as a college student. I started up in NMC, which is Northwestern Michigan College, and then Mid-Michigan College, which is now, well, it's a community college in the Clare County area. And then went to CMU to finish my degree. So from then on, I became a school teacher, Farwell, Michigan. Then I went to Essexville, where I taught nearly 30 years there. And after retirement, I went back to the classroom. We have a shortage of teachers. So I went back to teach, again, back to Farwell, rural area, very wonderful people there. Community is wonderful. And then I just wrapped it up with the Bay City Public, where I ended up retiring. Now I'm a medical leave right now for taking care of a family member. Also as a coach, I've coached but literally 54, 55 seasons, because I was coaching the boys in the fall, girls in the spring. Still coaching Midland High girls soccer. We just came off of an outstanding season. We were 2 games away from a state championship, second year in a row. We've won many Saginaw Valley titles, but district-wise, we've won, under my tenure in Midland High School, we've won 6 district titles, 1 regional, and we were in the top 4 once.
You only lost 1 game last year?
Last year, 1 game against Byron Center, who ended up becoming the state champions. The year before, we played in Division II. We were small enough to be Division II, and again, we lost in the region final to Spring Lake, which ended up being, again, state champions. Everybody that they beat past us was 1 goal, nothing, versus when we played them, we were 3-2. So we can proudly say that we were the only team in postseason on both schools that we faced that we scored more than 1 goal. We were leading Byron Center, which was a very outstanding team. And again, once again, they went on to beat everybody else 1-0 the next 2 games to become state champions. Many of my girls went on to play college. In fact, we have several girls of Midland High now playing at Delta College, which became national champions, undefeated.
Yeah, I saw that.
Second year in a row. And
pretty exciting.
Yeah, the girls are amazing.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's been 27 seasons with the boys, not just at Midland High. I started at Bay City Western, then I went to Bay City Central. I coached at Delta College men's, Then I came to Midland High, and I was there almost 14 years with the girls again. Started again by City Central. Then I coached in Freeland. We were very successful in Freeland, and then came to Midland, where I started as a JV coach for a couple of seasons, and then went on to become the varsity coach. And we've been tremendously successful.
Yeah, and you're doing some work at Northwood right now, too.
Correct.
Right?
I'm helping Northwood University as an assistant of an assistant.
Yeah, I would say that most people who would hear your accomplishments or your dedication or whatever, getting educated and all that you've done a lot with your life. Mm-hmm. You didn't just come here and expect somebody to give you a handout. Mm-hmm. That you rolled up your sleeves and you contributed, and you've touched probably thousands of people as an educator, hundreds of people as a coach. Inspired many people to go on and do things with their life that maybe they wouldn't have considered, but for the fact that you were somebody who introduced them to this idea that they could do more. And I think that's one of the things that immigrants have, is a fire in their belly. They have a appreciation for something that other people might take for granted. And I want to add that we're going to be talking about immigration and refugee rights today, a topic that is very hot in the United States right now, because there are some people who feel that many of the people who are coming here should not be coming here for one reason or another. And I do have to make a disclosure that my parents were immigrants. My father and mother immigrated to the United States after World War II. And I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I'm the first U.S. citizen in my family. And I wanted to point out, though, that when they came here, they came here as war refugees. My father had spent about 5 years in a Nazi POW camp in which about 10% of the people survived. After they were freed by the French and the U.S., he actually then worked for the occupation forces, discovering and ferreting out Nazi SS and others that were responsible for the atrocities. He could recognize them because he had survived 5 years in this camp and knew a lot of the people, and was an informant working as a prison guard in many ways, actually a guard of the people who actually imprisoned him, to identify those people who actually had violated human rights. Anyways, he came here with my mother, and they had nothing. They had a few dollars in their pocket, the name of a person who would be a sponsor, and landed in New York City and started an adventure and contributed greatly. Both my sister and I are college graduates, have contributed in many ways over the years to society, and we're an immigrant story, as are many people. And I bring that up because sometimes people think that immigrants come here looking for a handout, looking for somebody to take care of them, and they don't realize that usually immigrants who come here have already been through something difficult, have made a decision to leave their home, their familiar area, and start all over again, and are people who are ready for a challenge, and oftentimes take on the things that people who have been here a long time wouldn't consider because it's too hard, and or the difficulty scares them, makes them anxious. It triggers their anxiety, and they want to run away. Whereas an immigrant says, "Hey, I'll try that."
Well, I can tell you that coming to the United States first to study, I have been in the United States most of my life. Came here when I was 17. I'm 60 years old now. Since leaving my country, I have missed funerals. My father died when I was in college, and I didn't have the money to go visit him. So he died there. I have pictures of his funeral. Then my mother, now that I could afford to, my mother passed away a couple of years ago around Christmas time. And I came down with COVID the morning that my mother passed away. And in Chile, they would not let you back in if you had COVID. In fact, I had a person say to me, "Why didn't you lie?" Well, no, because now you're the person with COVID in a plane infecting 300 other people. Yeah. That is just not ethical, not right. what if I infected someone who was elderly and that person died because of me? It's a moral dilemma, right? And back at home, in Chile, they bury people within 2 days. There is no embalming. So my mother was buried on Christmas Eve a couple of years back. I saw the video, thank goodness for technology. It is sad. This is time of the year. It's a little sad for me, but at least she died when she was sleeping. But what people do not understand that many people that have left the countries to come here for an opportunity to make something of themselves, not for a handout. Because I've worked 3 jobs pretty much all my life to make ends meet. Not just teaching, but coaching and doing side jobs just to make things happen. I've missed pretty much all Christmases with my family back in Chile, but one. Went back in 2012, Christmas of 2012, to visit my family. I'm glad that I did it one time in 60 years. Well, I've been here 42 years, plus or minus. And tell you what, one Christmas. People do not understand the sacrifices that people make. They know that sometimes leaving means that you may never go back.
Yeah, you bring that up, and it reminds me that my father never could go back to Poland. After he got liberated from this prisoner of war camp, he wanted to go back home. And one of the American officers from Chicago, who came from a Polish family, said, "Hey, look if you go back to Poland, as soon as you cross the border, the Russians are going to arrest you and put you in a gulag, and you're going to die there because you're a soldier and you survived the war. And they don't want anybody going back there who's going to disturb their propaganda and what they're trying to do. So come work for us." And he did. And as I was growing up, I would see that he would send things to Poland. And he'd send coffee, and he'd send sugar and stuff like that. And I'd say to my mother, don't they have sugar and coffee in Poland? And she said, "Someday you'll know." And I said, okay. So they would send these packages, and it'd take a long time to get there. My father never went back, but I did. And I found my family there. And when I went there, one of my second cousin's son had me stay at a place, one of his places, while we were there, and he put a coffee can up there and said, "If you eat coffee, they're right there." And I looked at it, and it was like a Hills Brother coffee can, and it looked very familiar. It looked very old. And I looked at it, and I said, "Huh." And I said to him, I didn't know you had that coffee here. He said, "Don't you recognize that can?" And I said, No, I don't. Why should I? He said, "Your dad would send us that." I said, "Oh, yeah, he thought you guys didn't have coffee." He says, No, you don't understand. In the bottom of that coffee can was American money. He would put American money in there because it was easily transferable into buying things and so forth. The Russian ruble wasn't worth anything. He says, with an American dollar, he says, my dad built his apartment, his house, with the money that came from that. And your father would send that to us on a regular basis. And they would never look in the bottom of a coffee can.
No, probably not.
And I said, "Oh, my God, I did not know that."
Well, similar situation for me. Every time my family on my mother's side in Chile, there were farmers, subsistence farmers. So we're not talking about big tractor farmers. We're talking about horse and buggy, right? Yeah. And my aunt passed away, and my mother says, we're trying to find a way to put her in a niche instead of just burying underground and then like a pauper's grave. So I said, "Well, how much you guys need?" And my mother said, "Well, we don't want to bother you." I said, "How much you need?" And to put my aunt in a niche perpetually, $500. I had just gotten paid from coaching. And I said, wrote a check, send it home. My wife, her family is also from immigrants from Poland, she could understand that meant a lot. Do I ask for the money back? No. It's what you do. Yeah. It's the right thing to do. And, the thing that they tell you, do the right thing even when people are not looking. Yeah. And don't expect a thank you, because you know what? You got to do it. Maybe one day, now people say pay it forward. Well, you got to do things ahead of time. My father, as a mechanic, he owned his own garage, and he was first generation born in Chile from Italy. My grandparents and 3 of his brothers and sisters were born in Italy, and my father was born in Chile. He was the first Chilean. And we could have been rich with a garage, but my father never overcharged people. You know, if he knew that something was not, you know, he said, oh, look, it was just this. And, you know, my father believed in doing the ethical thing. So, of course, you know, our garage was not very, I'm not saying that, you know, like, but you know what, it's very easy to get caught in the, well, this person didn't pay attention, you own a car, you can't afford it.
Sure.
But my father wasn't like that, and he was always helping people. Again, grew up with my mother and father who were working 60 hours a week easily. So one of the things that always caught my attention, I appreciate when you have parents, you know, come and watch you coach your kids or things like that. My parents never came to watch me play.
Because they were working.
Oh, because they were working all the time. Oh, yeah.
You know, and I can relate to that. My dad, and it's interesting, because this, I think some people don't understand it. Immigrants are willing to work harder if necessary. My dad always had 2 jobs, and my mother worked, and she took care of us. And she was a seamstress. My father worked in a variety of different jobs, shipbuilding, foundries, whatever. Took jobs that other people didn't want. It caused his early death. He died from asbestos poisoning because of the jobs he took. But he educated us. And it's interesting. My father's model of how to get ahead is something I've done. I've always worked 2 jobs my whole life.
You have to.
You know, doing something. Yeah. And, you know, if you needed more money, you just worked more. You know, you didn't look for a handout. No. And I think this is the thing that I think sometimes misses, that the people that are hustling, the people that are doing more, taking on things, oftentimes are immigrants, they're first generation, because they don't take it for granted.
No, because they know where they came from.
Yeah.
They know where they came from. I can tell you from my own experience that coming to the United States, having more opportunities, be able to do certain jobs. But I never, at the early beginning, I did not get those jobs that, you know, that you would consider plush. Yeah. You know, so I worked in a grocery store bagging groceries. Then I worked my way up to, while I was in college. You know, I had a work visa that also permitted to work. So I worked in the college, also was a custodian. Sure. Then I became a student mechanic at Central Michigan. So bagging groceries, you know, so I basically worked plus going to school. I was working 40 to 60 hours a week plus going to college, you know, and that another thing for me was I was not eligible for scholarships. So I could not get loans because I was with a student visa. And to come to the United States to study, you got to have proof that you have financial backing. Well, that was great until my second year of college that my father died. And my mother was not making enough money to be able to send me enough. So I was already working in college, and, you know, I had to double up now.
Well, you brought up something that's very interesting, is that actually foreign students contribute more to our education system than people realize. Now, I've been a university professor for going on 50 years, and all school systems depend on foreign students to give them additional money, because typically foreign students are charged a higher rate than sometimes double or triple.
I always tell people that I went to CMU, but I was paying U of M fees.
Yeah.
Because that's I was comparing my fee my fees to
you
what my
always
buddies
pay more if you're a foreign student.
I still remember at CMU when my buddies were getting like 18 credits and they paid like $500.
Yeah.
And I was taking 12 so I could get more hours working. So 12 credits, they had 18, right? So one of the things I look at my bill, and my bill was almost $2,000.
Yeah.
Theirs was like with more credits, 500. And they say, well, it's like, well, I consider out-of-stater. That's the fee that I got to pay.
Yeah.
And one of my friends says to me, you know, my cousin is in U of M right now and is paying like $200 less than you are.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up because currently most of the U.S. schools, colleges, and universities are going through a financial crisis because the current administration is limiting the number of foreign students coming in and making it very hard for people to get student visas. And it's causing problems for many administrators in colleges and universities because those students, when they come, oftentimes are like two students. So if you have 10 people, it's really like having 20 students enroll.
Yeah.
And the other thing it does is it adds that international element to the student experience for people in this country, so that they're exposed to other cultures, they're exposed to other ideas, they get a chance to understand what it's like to be in the world and preparing them to work in a global economy. And so by limiting the number of immigrants into this country right now, what we're doing is really making it harder for our U.S.-born students to have experiences that prepare them to work in a global world, global economy, and understand the differences that take place because of the cultural kinds of things that happen outside our boundaries.
Well, you can take, for instance, many of the startups that we use today, like Google, PayPal, you name it. Apple, but Google, and just to go, I believe Google has one of the two founders was a foreign student in the United States. PayPal, the same thing, and you can go down the list, and it is amazing, you know. So we are the greatest nation, in, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you know, and even way back when people think about all these capitalists that created this country, they were immigrants. You know, the only real Americans, if we want to call them that, are the native people, the indigenous people that lived here, the over 100 tribes of native people that were here before the Europeans made the first journey across to become colonists in this country. So we are a nation of immigrants.
Well, you know, our pilgrims came, you know, seeking refuge from religious persecution.
Yeah.
Again.
And people are coming here now because of persecution.
Oh, yeah. I can assure you that I'm blessed to have come from a place like Chile, where we became the first nation in South America to be considered industrialized. And so we have first world status with the United States. So most of the people that come from Chile, they can come on a visitor's visa, what they call a visa waiver, but they can only stay like 3 months at the most. But I can assure you that people leaving other countries have gone to Chile because of the opportunities that they have down there. Do we have the same here? I think the United States have been blessed with having people willing to come, work hard, and prosper in this country. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of our top brass generals in the last couple of administrations have been Polish first generation Polish Americans.
Yeah. So we've had lots of people. So even in the revolutionary periods with Thaddeus Kosciuszko, Lafayette, people that came here and actually were instrumental in guiding the colonists to victory because they were schooled in European warfare and actually taught the colonists how to win.
Exactly.
Not to keep losing.
Well, Lafayette, you know, basically, and Louis the 16th, before the French Revolution came about, had helped the United States with a lot of weapons and a lot of money to fight the English. Once again, you know, we've always been a nation of coalitions.
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. The French help us to get our independence. Now, France is facing the juggernaut of the Russian military, possibly looking at taking over all of Europe. And the United States has been pretty cool about giving French aid in fighting off what is looking like a potential European war. And I'm wondering, did we forget that it was the French and many other people who gave us our freedom, and they may be losing theirs? You know, we seem to be kind of shallow in our understanding of that we're part of a larger world out there. and that we should really respect our origins because of that.
I can tell you that back in '73 when I was still there and I was 8 years old. So most people say, well, what can you possibly remember as an 8-year-old? I can tell you during the times that we had President Allende, who was a socialist elected president, we had food lines, we had food rationing, and there was an economic embargo with Chile. And I remember as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid having to stand in food lines with a punch card. You know, and these lines went on, and you know, so my childhood pretty much was very diminished by things like that. And you could hear people in the lines, food lines, say, why can't the United States just come over here, man, and take over and help us? Because the United States has always been seen as the cavalry of the world.
Well, I think because of the way we started. But it's interesting that you bring this up because the United Nations human rights rules or ideas are something that we should embrace again. All human beings are born free and equal. Everyone is equal regardless of race, color, sex, language, religion, politics, and where they were born. Everyone has the right to life and to live in freedom and safety. Everyone has the right to be free from slavery. Everyone has the right to be free from torture. Everyone has the right to be recognized before law. We are all equal before the law. Everyone has the right to seek justice if their rights are violated. Everyone has the right to freedom from arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. Everyone has the right to fair trial. Everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Everyone has the right to a nationality. Everyone has a right to marry and have a family. Everyone has the right to own property. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. Everyone has a right to freedom of peaceful assembly, association. Everyone has a right to take part in government and have equal access to public service. Everyone has a right to Social Security. Everyone has the right to work, to equal pay, to protection against unemployment, the right to form and join trade unions. Everyone has the right to rest and have leisure. Everyone has the right to participate and enjoy culture and science. Everyone has a right to a decent standard of living. Everyone has a right to education. Everyone has a right to social and international order. And we have a duty to other people, and we should protect their rights and freedom. Nobody can take away these rights and freedoms from us. Those are the kinds of things that really drive people to want to be in the United States, because the United States often was, as you said, the cavalry that supported that.
Yep. Well, I can tell you that you know what, if with the ample right of education is the equalizer, in my opinion. No matter where you came from, how rich, how poor you are, everybody with the right desire, you will have people, you know, that they will grow, prosper. It's just proven. Okay. I, as a 35-year educator, I can tell you that I've seen many kids flourish from very humble beginnings.
Well, let me end today by saying that one of the human rights is that everyone has a right to seek asylum from persecution.
Oh, yeah.
And people come to the United States for asylum from persecution from many countries. In fact, that's how this whole thing got started. So, you know, in looking at this idea of immigration and refugee rights and what built America, you know, in summation, it's coming together, finding common ground. There are many people who came from different places and formed a more perfect union. We, the people, have come together. And as long as we are together, we're going to continue to enjoy all the benefits of being in a free society. Anything you want to close with?
Yeah, you know, one of our forefathers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Hamilton. I believe he was not even born in the United States. He was born in the islands, you know, in the Caribbean. Hate to quote somebody like that because, you know what, who knows if it's true or not. But he said, we immigrants get it done.
That's a good way. That's a good way to say it.
Whether that's what he said, because sometimes people really like to embellish stories.
And I think that let me just end by saying that may actually make some people uncomfortable. It might trigger their realization that they're not working as hard as the immigrant who's willing to take on 2 jobs and send some of that money home to his family, and also respect the rules that are there, because they don't want to be thrown out of the country.
No.
If anything, they're more law-abiding than most people, because the last thing they want to do is to be sent back to where they came from.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have to tell you is that before I left Chile, my father, being a son of immigrants himself, he was an immigrant, even though he was born in Chile, he literally told me, go up there, man, and don't disappoint and don't become a burden. You are a visitor, you're a guest, and you do not go to somebody else's house to destroy their house. Make it better. Leave it better than you find it. And that's how I've lived for 42, 43 years now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, if you want to make comments about this, you can find us on Facebook, U.S. Common Ground, and I'll be happy to respond to any comments you make there. I do want to stop and thank Rico Barassi for sharing his story, being here today. Rico, I'll have you back. We'll have some other discussions in the future. But I really do want people to also understand that many of us seem to have forgotten that out of many, we have become one. And we need to find that common ground again. Instead of looking at our differences, how are we able to be more abiding with each other and more respectful of each other and help each other? Because that's really what the spirit of patriotism should really be about, making this country, as Rico said, better, stronger than we found it. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. Thank you for listening to the Common Ground podcast, where social justice topics are discussed so that mutual solutions can be considered. This program was created by me, Ziggy Kozicki. You can join these conversations by following Common Ground podcast on Facebook. This program was created through the facilities of the MCTV Network, a service of the City of Midland. Charter, DirecTV, MCTV, and the City of Midland are not responsible for the content of this program. The views presented do not necessarily represent those of Charter, DirecTV, the City, or MCTV. If you would like to learn about creating community podcasts like this one, contact MCTV at 989-837-3474. Thank you.